Hey, everybody, welcome to the Fully Loaded Podcast. I'm your host, Jared. I tend to do these things from time to time. We've had a few months off here. We've had some technical issues, some thievery, all kinds of neat stories about that, but that's for another time. I'm here to tell you today that the podcast that I recorded this past week with the heavyweight champion at FLW's own Chainsaw King. It's an interesting one. We kind of delve into death matches, his unique outlook on life, his perspective, the fact that he considers himself probably more of an artist than a wrestler. It's a very interesting interview, so check that out. But first, let's take care of some business. Coming up here in the month of December, we're going to be at the Vegas Motel with FLW Cup 2016, December 16th and 17th, with special guest Booker T. That's right, WWE Hall of Famer Booker T will be at the Vegas Motel in Minot. So if you're in the area, hey, even if you're in like the tri-state area, you live at close, kind of near the Montana border, South Dakota, Minnesota, look, Booker T, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities to meet and talk to Booker T. This is your chance. It'll be $20 meet and greets. Tickets are on sale at fullyloadedwrestling.com. Click there, get ringside. Almost sold out of ringside. VIP tables are sold out. General admissions selling like hotcakes. If you're coming from out of town and you want to do a meet and greet, you can guarantee yourself a spot in line at a meet and greet, which is $20, like I said, is to call the Vegas Motel and get them to book you a room at the special FLW rate. Just say, hey, I'm booking here because of Fully Loaded Wrestling. They'll give you a special rate and all that cool stuff because they're an awesome sponsor. Hey, if you're not in the area and you want to watch Fully Loaded Wrestling, we're on Fight TV and YouTube. Fight's an awesome combat sport app. There's great episodes of all kinds of wrestling out there. You got Ring of Honor, TNA, Fully Loaded Wrestling, on and on and on. We're also on YouTube, where we have a YouTube-exclusive Fully Loaded review with the beautiful MJ, who happens to know the Chainsaw King, who I'm going to be interviewing here in a couple moments. So, the pleasantries out of the way here, all that stuff out of the way. Here's my awesome interview that I had with Chainsaw King. Welcome to the Fully Loaded Podcast. We're finally back after being off for like 5 months. I don't know. I don't keep track of this stuff.
17 years. That
familiar voice is the FLW Heavyweight Champion. He's my guest today on this podcast, Mr. Chainsaw King. Taking a selfie.
No.
He claims he invented selfies in high school.
Wait.
With his Polaroids.
I just took a selfie of a selfie that I invented.
So meta.
On my Instagram, at ChainsawKing.
It's like selfieception?
That's not true. That is selfieception, actually.
Well, you can get your, by the way, you just gave me a thumbs up that we're doing the podcast.
Yes, I did.
On Facebook. I don't know why. Okay. So.
Take it. Take it all.
This thing's already off the rails, King.
Oh,
I didn't expect it. I just expect a free-flowing.
I didn't expect any railing to go on.
Free-flowing, I said.
Oh.
Wait. Yeah.
Flowing. What?
If you're wondering why my voice sounds funny, it's because I blew it out screaming catfight when two men in bikinis were fighting last night.
Yes.
Was that your favorite match of the night last night?
I actually really liked all the matches last night.
Yeah.
I watched most of the show, and it was a blast.
For those of you that don't know, King participated in a death match last night against his friend Cody Rice.
Cody Rice challenged me to not a death match, and I had to go and screw up his evening. And for that, I'm sorry. Like, a small part of me, that conscience thing that I don't know what a conscience is. But if I did have one, I would be excited.
That was a balls-to-the-wall match, but I bet that's not even the craziest match you've ever had.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
Not even at all.
There was that story you told me where you and Pepper Cricket got paid with a hot dog.
We got paid with a hot dog to bleed everywhere. Donnie Pepper Cricket, the 80s pop icon, and I, based out of the Omaha area currently. We went out to a promotion famous for death matches, and we got ruined.
Sounds rotten.
Yeah, it was absolutely rotten. That was I had to shuffle out of the building. It was.
Hey, you didn't get paid.
Not really, no.
Didn't you? A fan bought you a hot dog, right? But you guys had to share it.
We did actually have to share it. That was actually a fantastic story. He expected me to have money, and I put a check in the bank that I had just gotten from my grandmother because starving artist, and she sent me a birthday present.
Yeah.
I was very excited to have that birthday present, and I had deposited it in the bank, and I thought that when you deposited a check into the bank, it was just there for you. And
No.
it was not.
You're an adult at this point, right?
Sort of. Sort of. The check went into the bank and then hung in limbo. And Donnie basically needed that money to get us to the venue. And, of course, I told him that we would have it. And it wasn't there. So we literally drove 8 or 9 hours each direction on prayers and gas fumes. And just for sure that we would get paid for a bloodbath that we took part in. And honestly, it was a blast. We met a lot of people. Cody Rice, oddly enough, was also on that show.
Bringing it around.
It was fun. But yeah.
I remember Cody saying there was like his first real hardcore match he ever had was in front of 22 people. It was bleeding everywhere. It's probably the same show.
That was actually, I want to say that was one of his more popular events at that company. So I'm going to say
was
that
it like King of the Deathmatch style thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Yes, thank you.
No, I couldn't participate in something like that. How can you just become a human pincushion on command like that?
Honestly, for the art form that we pursue in professional wrestling, pain is kind of part of it, and I'm okay with that to the extent of now I just want some form of compensation for it. And
what?
Back then, there wasn't. There was the compensation of being one person on a card where there was 12 matches and they were all tag team matches. So the compensation there was exposure, but in a very
I can't eat exposure.
Strangely minor way. Yeah, you can't put exposure in a gas tank, unfortunately.
Yep. So how long have you been doing this?
This is, I want to say, I began training in 2007, and I believe I had my first singles match in the spring of 2008. So it has been about, that's not right. That's not right. Because Guns and Beer actually started, I believe, a year and a half after me. And so I botched everything just now.
That's okay. Like I said last night, you were involved in a
post.
Oh no, we're not editing it.
Post.
It's okay. You got hit a lot in the head last night.
I forgot.
It's okay.
Yeah, there's no post here. This is FLW. There's no.
Yep. There's no editing anything.
There's no editing at all. So actually, I was correct. 2006 was in my head. I was like, I think I started training in 2006, and then I started wrestling in 2007. And then perhaps one of my first big matches was, I believe, in 2008. I think that's what I wrestled Donnie Pepper Cricket in a singles match on PWP's anniversary show, a company based out of Omaha, Nebraska, in front of I think like 200 people, and had my first singles match with someone I looked up to greatly. And I remember that was in I think spring of 2008. So to me, that's kind of like I had a pile of matches before that, but they were all just rumbles and tag teams, and I wasn't really challenged in the way that I wasn't in a spotlight per se. And in that match with my mentor, I was in a spotlight where I had to perform, and that was the first match where I felt born.
Gotcha. Where did the idea of Chainsaw King come from? Because you used to be known as the Omaha Chainsaw, right? Was there anything before Omaha Chainsaw?
There was Chainsaw King now. There was the Omaha Chainsaw Stephen King, trying to capitalize on my accidental naming of Stephen King, spelled like the author. And then before that was the Omaha Chainsaw SM King, and the whole like SM violence thing. I was kind of like a wink to the audience. However, as we know here in FLW, like half the audience can be kids, so that wasn't really. Yeah. Everyone just thought I was trying to rip off CM Punk, which was not at all the meaning. But when people said that, I was like, well, that's not what I want at all for my brand. That's not what I'm trying to do. But if people see it as that, then maybe I need to go back to the drawing board. And before SM King was Stephen Saint, and I was Stephen Saint for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And then Stephen Saint, Stephen King, Chainsaw King basically is the kind of the hop skip.
Nice.
Hop skip jump.
Where did you get to, or how did you get to work for Chikara? And you had a nice run in Chikara. Like you were out there killing everybody, literally.
Who? What? Where?
Not allowed to talk about it?
There was that. I hear that a lot, actually. I've heard wonderful things. And when people compliment me on the stuff that went on there, I'm very grateful and gracious and appreciative that they thought that was me. If it would have been me, it would have been an amazing time. And I would have been very thankful for any opportunities that were given to me. Also, when people say the name Deucalion, I think the show Teen Wolf. Because if you put Deucalion in Google, just Teen Wolf stuff comes up.
Really?
So, I don't know. Yeah, that's just I guess I look like a teenage werewolf person.
Well, you do a little
That's
bit.
what I've heard. So, but yes, had that been me, that would have been wonderful. I did actually do some work for Chikara, though. I was chosen to write out some stories, oddly enough, about that character.
Yeah, you're also an author.
In the Chikara's Untold Tales Volume 2, which is kind of like a comic book yearbook for the company Chikara. And they had me write a few segments of their comic book, their yearbook for the year of last year. So there is, oddly enough, a story about that character that you were just talking about, whoever that is. And I also wrote the cover story about Princess Kimberly.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're not just a wrestler. You're like a jack of all creative trades because you've actually written a novel.
I've written a novel as well. Yes, I'm halfway through the sequel currently.
Why don't you tell the crowd what it is? Plug it. Yes, go ahead. Make the money off it.
Brendan Bat's Bold Adventure. Wait, no. Sorry.
Ballad.
Again, Deathmatch. Brendan Bat's Bold Ballad, Beneath the Harvest Moon, is the one that's currently available on Amazon, Kindle, CreateSpace, Facebook, and I have a web store that you can find if you go to chainsaw.tv. And that book is one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done, because it brought in a lot of people that weren't necessarily happy or comfortable that I was a pro wrestler, that I pursued that art form. But when they saw me applying my mind to something that I'd been doing my whole life, they kind of came around. Like family and friends that didn't really like the wrestling thing, they finally came back around and went, you finally used your mind for something else. And in that way, it's not full acceptance of me or my art form or the Chainsaw King endeavor, which, it's a little hard, but when they embraced the book, that was a big deal. And I found a lot of people willing to cross lines, so to speak, and say, well, maybe I don't get the weird, psycho, painted-up person, but this book is wonderful, and I can read it with my kids, and my kids can read it to me, and it's a great time. So, Brendan Bat's Bold Ballad, if you can get any of that spelling correctly in Google, you will find it, because there's nothing else out there. I checked.
It's a unique name for a book, and it's a comic book, regular book, pro wrestler, and you also do web design.
Artist, poet, web design, graphic design, media, content.
So secretly you're a nerd, huh?
I am not even secretly a nerd. I have never been cool, JJ. I have never been cool. There's one thing that you need to know.
This is a podcast, so he just held up a picture of him when he was a teenager, and he's right. He's a complete nerd. I was too, though. It's okay.
It was a shame. No, that's fine. We're fine. We're fine. That works out. I'm actually I'm such a wrestling nerd that when I watch the camps ongoing at FLW, when they bring in great trainers to work with all these prospective future professional wrestlers, I watch the camps because it's fascinating to me just to watch each individual personality, each body realize what it takes to be a professional wrestler, what it takes to do what we do, and to see them overcome.
If you're wondering what the noises in the background is they are training about 10 feet in front of us. And this is about the only time we could do the work with that, but we've done it before.
And it's fascinating to watch people challenge their bodies in a way that they have never been challenged before.
Who trained you? Who trained you?
Donnie Peppercricket had a huge hand in training me. Initially, I trained with the company, Pro Wrestling Phoenix. But more or less, after learning some very basics there with their head talent, Hype Gotti and Tony Cortez, both tremendous wrestlers, I was more or less kidnapped by Donnie Peppercricket, dragged into his car, and driven to at least 1 to 2 shows every weekend for about a year. So now, having checked me on my data, 2006 to 2007, I was in a car with Donnie Peppercricket almost every weekend for a year.
That's important for green kids. Even if you're not booked on a show, go learn, go watch. Get in the car, understand how many miles it takes to be in this business, because I don't think people realize how far they have to travel.
Absolutely.
We have people who say, I want to be a pro wrestler, and then you tell them, well, the camp's in Minot, and they literally live 2 hours away. They're like, well, that's kind of far. And I'm like, well, then this ain't for you. It just isn't for you.
It's an insane challenge, and it was a strange challenge for me at first. I was actually homeschooled almost entirely, and I was able to travel with my dad a lot. So I've actually been up through South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa probably 100 times, because being homeschooled, me and my dad just traveled the Midwest
I didn't know that.
kind of constantly. And so I've literally stayed here when I was 15 or 16 years old. So when I walked into the Vegas for the first time and looked around, I had this insane deja vu because me and my dad stayed here previously.
That's insane.
Yeah, for his shoot job. Shoot job. And
It's insider terms. You wouldn't get it.
yeah, nerd terms. It was fascinating. But then with wrestling, it was a whole different deal because of the nerves and the anticipation. Like from the moment you get into the car until the moment you get to the show, and you help out and you try to impress whoever's running the show, and you don't know who that person is exactly because there's people over there doing stuff and people over there doing stuff, and it's all very secretive. So you're trying to like impress 17 people because you don't know who they are. And Donnie just had a way about him that was so friendly that he could just like. He could get me into someone's good graces, but the cards were just not always, you know, random spots. And he would always try to pitch me and himself, which was very kind of him. It's like, oh, well, I know you paid to bring me out to do me versus this guy, but hey, can we just throw him in there just for giggles? And, like, so nice, so sacrificial. So
Business needs guys like that.
and that's absolutely, that's what I believe in, too.
The hooligans are like that. They always see them trying to get green guys in the car. They're like, I don't give a fuck. If you're not booked, just get in the car. And no one travels more than them.
That's true. They're everywhere. I've thought about trying to like meet up with them. I've written them in the Vikings a few times just to be like, how far away are you from me? And then there's just that vast distance between me and them, and then the traveling to wherever they're going for the 3 or 4 shows, because those guys are always wrestling and always busy.
Yeah, they'll get in the car and drive from Tennessee, Kentucky, wherever. I think it's Tennessee, all the way to California. Like, how? I can't do that. I couldn't even drive that far.
If there's
What's the
a
longest
darn
trip
good
you've
reason.
ever made?
Longest trip?
Yeah, while doing that.
I would probably say Williston, from Omaha to Williston, is about 15 with stops each way. And we did for the Tommy Dreamer show, we did 15 there. Basically, the match wrapped, and due to
About
some
20
personal
minutes later, you
issues,
had to drive
we had
back.
to
Yeah,
drive
I remember
back.
that night.
Yeah, we had a hotel room and everything. We were going to hang out with Tommy. I was very excited. And then just due to an emergency, we had to just leave and drive right back. And my mind was blown on
30
how
hours
well
in a
that
car
went.
for 30 minutes in the ring.
Yes.
Worth it,
Absolutely.
though, wasn't it? Take on Tommy Dreamer, a hero of yours.
It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I remember sitting up against the wall here in Minot watching the announcement that Horace the Psychopath from the Minnesota area was going to wrestle Tommy Dreamer, and my heart just yearned to be any part of that at all at that moment when that match was announced. And then a few weeks later when I got an email saying, hey, Horace was injured. Can you do it? Do you want to do it? And I just remember losing my mind and running about my apartment and just jumping up and down.
Yeah, I remember your wife made a post about that. She was like, I've never seen him with such a big smile. Like,
that was fantastic. Tommy was, as everyone says, I mean, I honestly can't think of anyone saying anything bad about Tommy Dreamer.
Nope.
But he was an absolute blast to work with. Very educational, very kind, and very, very willing to work for the company. And I've seen him a few times since then, and he actually remembers me, remembers our match, and talks to me about different things. Most recently, seeing him at the Pro Wrestling Revolver show in Clive, Iowa, a few months back for Sammy Callahan's Upstart promotion, and that was a lot of fun. He still remembered me and gave me a few tips, and
awesome.
Very wonderful, yeah. He just walked up to me and started talking to me like we had just hung out a week ago, and it had been like a year. And
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, but we talked about you talked about walking into Vegas and having deja vu. You've told me this is like a special place to you because of the crowd. And man, if you can watch this on fully loaded TV, and they're loud on TV, it doesn't do justice when they start chanting "Chainsaw Nation."
Last night, we had some fun on the 18 and Up show, and we did a specific fun Undertaker entrance, and they chanted for so long.
They did.
And they didn't know I was doing this slow Undertaker walk, and I wanted to come out and react and high five and like bond with them, but it's like, oh no.
Nope.
Oh no, I'm going to do this homage correctly. I'm not going to.
We nailed the fog. We nailed the lights. That was perfect.
That was beautiful. Someone posted footage of it today on Twitter, and it was a blast. Please go to Fully Loaded Pro @ on Twitter and check that out. Go ahead and scroll for it. Just like everything until you find that video of the entrance. It's pretty super.
That is really cool. We had a lot of fun with that last night.
That was magical.
Cody came from Cody Rice, bigger fella, came out in a bathrobe.
The Husky
to
Heartthrob.
the Husky Heartthrob came out to Glorious, and we had the spotlight on him and everything. That was a lot of fun. It was a different night. That was our first 18+ show. Man,
It was a blast.
I could not. I still can't get over the beating you and Cody took. Specifically, Cody.
That poor fella. Yeah, I remember as we were flying off the smallest balcony here at the Vegas, and I've flown off the biggest one too, but the smallest balcony, and I was just like, this is like 700 pounds of humanity flying at this table beneath us, and
Yep, and it did not cushion the vol.
not really. That poor table was not ready. It was just not prepared.
You brought up falling from that second balcony. People don't know that's a shoot. What, 18, 20 feet in the air?
Yeah, that's up there.
Huh?
That's up there.
Yep.
If each physical story is technically 10 feet, then that's probably about 16 to 18.
Yep.
So that's the
That's a
old
far
Foley
drop
bump.
through 2 tables.
It's the old Foley fall, about 18 to 20. And a lot of people are just like, oh man, Mick Foley, you fell 15, 20 feet, or 50 or 30, 60 feet. And he's just like, that was like 16.
Yeah.
But he's like, but I'm proud of that 16 feet. He's like, I fell all 16 of those feet. So
Yeah.
and I would say it's probably the same. It's up there. Honestly, when you're on the ground and looking at it, it's one thing. But when you are up there,
You're like, oh shit, can we not do this?
and the chairs and the tables below look like ants, and it's a center for ants. Everything just looks so small that it was a little intimidating at the time. And of course, I was trying to throw Joey off. I don't know what people are saying that I was. No. I was desperately trying to kill Joey Burt, who's actually one of my closest friends. But at the time,
Good old Joe Dozer.
the Joe Dozer was in my way, and I was trying to pitch him.
Trying to suplex him off that balcony and then
Punch me in the throat, man.
double
That's
thrust
not
right to that throat, and there you went.
That's not cool. That's not okay. I forgave him, though. We made out later. It's fine. Yes. So, and that was the first ever Pick Your Spot title shot. Briefcase ladder match. 6 men, crazy amounts of ladders, good times, which we just had a few weeks ago here at the Vegas in Minot.
Shout out to Christian Rose for being the second Pick Your Spot title shot winner.
Son
It's
of
coming
a
for you.
gun.
It cashed in just like you did.
Yeah.
Talk about that moment when you finally became a heavyweight champion.
It was a moment that everyone in that match would have been an interesting challenge in a different way. And Rose was probably, in my heart, the worst case scenario because of his mind. Not because of his body. In a physical bar fight scenario, I'm not afraid of Christian Rose. But in the challenge that he now possesses, in the way that he is now able to challenge me, that's what scares me. Because I used the sword to defeat Darren Corbin in a way that he had been through a grueling match with one of the best talents in the world, Heidi Lovelace.
Incredible
And
match.
one of the best matches I've probably seen live. And that was that moment when I chose to cash in and to make my dreams come true. And in the same way, I have now seen the sword that struck me or struck Darren down handed to Christian Rose. And he now aims to strike me down. And in my heart, I knew that if Duke or Joey won, they would just want to fight me for it.
Yeah.
And I knew if
If Mason had won or Bobby had won, they would have done the honorable thing and fought you in a regular
probably
match.
would have
They
challenged
wouldn't.
for the anniversary episodes. That would have been wonderful as well. And Owen Travers, I would have killed to have had an opportunity with Owen Travers, as he had just debuted and he was just
Tearing the house
shocking
down.
people with all his talent, just blowing people's minds with all the cool things he could do. And I was just really wishing anyone but Rose. And when Rose held up the briefcase, that was just that moment that his mind overcame. And in a match with no rules, he was able to strike down Bobby Brennan with all of his family screaming their heads off. It was almost one of the most beautiful moments for young talent that I'd ever seen. And you could go back and watch that soon on the Fight app. It will be debuting, I'm sure.
Yep, in the next
shortly.
couple weeks here. So
Get the Fight app and watch Fully Loaded TV, would you? Because
Definitely.
that's super. And the next few episodes and the next few shows are going to be absolutely splendid.
they are. I think we wrap this up here with one final question. How nervous were you when you cashed in? That moment, the lights died, they came back on, you're in the ring, and your moment's there. You finally have this chance at the heavyweight title. What's the first thing you thought of?
I hate to say, cliche items here, but it was my dad. My dad was in my head that whole time. My dad had passed probably about 2 or 3 weeks before that, and coming from his funeral and going basically like more or less straight to the Fully Loaded show and just dying to capitalize and do something that to me would help me find closure with his loss, and knowing that I couldn't mess up for him. Like, this is the moment where I capitalize on my dreams for him and for myself. And that time I managed to pull it off. My whole goal throughout the winter was to take that belt back to my dad before he passed. And when I missed that opportunity, it crushed me. But that was that moment when I had to absolutely come through, because though my dad was gone, the opportunity was still there, the fans were still there, and Fully Loaded was still wanting that moment, and I had to give it to them.
All right, well, I think that'll do it for us here. We like to try to keep this around like 20 to 30 minutes. So
Didn't even talk about no damn beer. Oh, hell yeah.
take a swig of water for the working man.
Swig of
That's
amp
someone
for the
else's
working
podcast.
man.
Swig of passion fruit amp energy drink for
I
the
know,
working
that's
man.
not even the most, that's headed in the direction of the most feminine energy drink I could be eating, actually, passion fruit.
Well, I think that'll do it. I'll be at the end of this episode here after to wrap everything up, to plug everything. Mr. Chainsaw King,
Plugs.
thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Again, definitely do not go to chainsaw.tv unless you really, really want to. Do not grab my book. Do not have a good time. Do not come out to Fully Loaded wrestling events. All of that stuff I just said, do the opposite. I love
Flip
you guys.
that, reverse
Thank
it.
you very much. Absolutely. Turn it upside down. I would love to come out and see you. I am a hugger. I will get my paint all over you in the best way possible.
All right. Thank you.
That was an awesome, like I said, that was an awesome interview with Chainsaw King. We really delved into some stuff I didn't expect to. He's quite the artist. Go to his website that he plugged there on the podcast. Check him out on Facebook, Chainsaw King, Twitter, Chainsaw King. You can check us out on Twitter at Fully Loaded Pro, on Facebook, Fully Loaded Wrestling. Check out Mob Run Productions and Sounds. Without them, the whole episodes, TV, all that stuff wouldn't be possible. Give Tony some love. He works hard. He works his ass off. Everybody in Fully Loaded Wrestling works their butt off. Nothing but love and appreciation. I'll tell you what, I promise you, in the month of December, I'll be back. We'll do another podcast. I know you guys like these. We're exclusively on the Suplex City Limits channel. I know Jim and Rando do a great job with Suplex City Limits. Also available on the Suplex City Limits channel is the podcast I do with Jim, Pay-Per-View Take 2, where we review old pay-per-views that are considered infamous or done poorly. We try to rebook them and fix them as best we can. That one we'll have December to Dismember coming up here in I think the month of December is when we're going to do that. So check that out. Lots going on the Suplex City Limits channel. Lots going on for Fully Loaded Wrestling. Hey, there's just a lot of stuff going on. Why don't you take a moment out of your day to check out some people, just try to reach a dream. And if you're going for a dream, you got a podcast, you got a YouTube show, hit us up, man. Give us, we'll talk to you. We'll plug your stuff. Say, hey, I heard you talking about, I heard your podcast, the Fully Loaded Wrestling podcast. Why don't you talk about my podcast? Why don't you talk about my YouTube channel? We'll plug you on Twitter. Oh, hey, I might even bring you up on the podcast. Again, thank you so much for listening. Just talk, it's nice to know we're not just talking to the wind here. Thank you so much for checking out Fully Loaded Wrestling. Have a great time.